Ένα σχόλιο σας για αυτό που είπε ο γιατρός Φάουτσι σήμερα και διαβάσαμε όλοι για το γεγονός ότι θα πρέπει να ξεχάσουμε τις χειραψίες.
Όχι μόνο τις χειραψίες, αλλά ο τρόπος με τον οποίο αλληλεπιδρούμε κοινωνικά έχει ήδη αλλάξει και θα αλλάξει για τα επόμενα χρόνια. Αγκαλιές, φιλιά, χειραψίες, συναντήσεις σε κλειστούς χώρους, συνέδρια, εκπαίδευση, σχολεία, η υγεία, όλα αυτά θα αλλάξουν. Σίγουρα δεν θα είναι πια το ίδιο. Και κλείνοντας, καλοκαίρι θα κάνουμε, τι λέτε εσείς? Μπορώ να σας πω το κλασικό, σε 2 εβδομάδες θα δούμε ανάλογα με το πώς θα λειτουργήσουν τα μέτρα, αλλά η προσωπική μου άποψη είναι ότι δεν θα μπορούμε να βγούμε και να γυρίσουμε στον κλασικό τρόπο ζωής, δει το ελληνικό ξεκαλοκαιριό ή οποιοδήποτε άλλο. Άρα οπότε, τίποτα δεν θα είναι ίδιο. Αυτά τα μέτρα θα συνεχίσουν. Όχι, θα συνεχίσουν αυτά τα μέτρα. Μάλιστα. Κύριε καθηγητά, ευχαριστώ θερμά για την επικοινωνία που είχαμε. Να είστε καλά. Καλό βράδυ από εμάς, από την Αθήνα.
This little QR code is a lot more powerful than it looks. It helps collect data about your travel history, health status, and more. And China's using it to track citizens and stop those infected with the coronavirus. First, you fill out a questionnaire. It asks for details like your body temperature. It then generates a color code, and at checkpoints popping up across China, green means go.
It's my first time to come outside after the epidemic, but I already used the QR code several times and I think it's good. It's proof of your identity, our country is upgrading and I think it's good to carry it out.
The codes are being scanned everywhere, from restaurants to apartment blocks. Major cities and more than half of China's provinces have started to use the color codes, a way to make tracking down infected people easier for authorities. But Western diplomats and activists have criticized China's mass surveillance in the past and expressed concerns about what else this data could be used for. William Nee is a human rights advisor at Amnesty International.
We've seen the use of big data to do predictive policing and detain people really for no reason. So there's a concern that although this data is being perhaps collected for a legitimate purpose, that it could potentially eventually be misused in ways that we can't predict right now.
It is unclear whether the data is analyzed on a national level, as local authorities often use a variety of systems made by different companies, such as Alibaba's Alipay and Tencent's WeChat. But the number of reported cases has slowed in recent weeks. China only reported 4 new locally transmitted cases on Sunday, which were all in Wuhan, where the virus outbreak originated.
Πριν προχωρήσουμε σε ερωτήσεις, το λόγο έχει ο Υφυπουργός Υγείας κ. Κοντοζαμάνης.
Θα θέλαμε με ιδιαίτερη χαρά να αναφερθούμε σε μία μεγάλη δωρεά η οποία ξεπερνάει τα σύνορα της χώρας μας. Το Ίδρυμα Σταύρος Νιάρχος προχωράει σε διεθνή πρωτοβουλία δράσης για τον κορονοϊό ύψους 100 εκατομμυρίων δολαρίων. Μεταξύ των άλλων θα χρηματοδοτήσει το τμήμα έρευνας του Πανεπιστημίου Ροκφέλερ, ένα από τα πιο αναγνωρισμένα κέντρα ερευνών στον κόσμο, το οποίο πρωτοπορεί στην έρευνα για τη θεραπεία του κορονοϊού και την ανακάλυψη εμβολίου. Στόχος της δράσης είναι η αντιμετώπιση των συνεπειών που έχει επιφέρει και θα επιφέρει η πανδημία, όπως η διασφάλιση σύντησης για εκείνους που έχουν ανάγκη, η ψυχολογική υποστήριξη εκείνων που τη χρειάζονται και η στήριξη των οργανισμών που θα αντιμετωπίσουν προβλήματα, κυρίως από τις οικονομικές και κοινωνικές συνέπειες που θα εμφανιστούν μόλις τελειώσει αυτή η υγειονομική κρίση. Το πιο σημαντικό απ' όλα είναι ότι η ιδιαίτερη σημασία αυτής της δράσης θα δοθεί στην Ελλάδα. Γι' αυτό, όπως τονίζεται σε ανακοίνωση του Ιδρύματος Σταύρος Νιάρχος. Ένα σημαντικό στόχος είναι να στηριχτούν ενεργά οι γιατροί, οι νοσηλευτές, οι υπάλληλοι υποδομών των μονάδων εντατικής θεραπείας σε όλα τα νοσοκομεία που αντιμετωπίζουν την μάχη αυτή για τον κορονοϊό.
And the whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
everything,
you sell.
Everything is in there, you know? And so they want a one world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people. And you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
Το 1 εκατομμύριο ξεπέρασαν τα κρούσματα του κορονοϊού παγκοσμίως, ενώ σχεδόν 4 δισεκατομμύρια άνθρωποι, ο μισός πληθυσμός του πλανήτη μας δηλαδή, έχουν υποχρεωθεί σε κατοίκον περιορισμό. Το μεγάλο στοίχημα τώρα είναι η δημιουργία έγκυρων και γρήγορων διαγνωστικών τεστ, αλλά και ενός εμβολίου που θα προστατεύει τους ανθρώπους από τον επικίνδυνο ιό.
1 εκατομμύριο κρούσματα και πλέον. 4 δισεκατομμύρια άνθρωποι σε καραντίνα ή σε κατοίκον περιορισμό σε ολόκληρο τον κόσμο. Ο κορονοϊός σκοτώνει ζωές και ανατρέπει την καθημερινότητα, τις στατιστικές της θνησιμότητας, τα δεδομένα για τις αντοχές των συστημάτων υγείας.
The very notion that COVID-19 only affects older people is factually wrong.
Ένας πλέον ο αυτοσκοπός. Η δημιουργία εμβολίου πολύ πριν το επόμενο έτος, όπως προβλέπουν οι περισσότεροι επιστήμονες. Στο Πανεπιστήμιο του Πίτσμπουργκ έχει ευωδώσει πειραματικό εμβόλιο που δοκιμάστηκε σε ποντίκια. Το εμβόλιο είχε τη μορφή δερματικού επιθέματος. Εντός 2 εβδομάδων παρήγαγε στοχευμένα αντισώματα κατά του κορονοϊού και μάλιστα σε ποσότητες που τον εξουδετέρωναν.
actually used in practice, think about them as almost like a Band-Aid. And so the microneedle array is simply applied to the skin topically, pressed into place very shortly, and then taken off and thrown away. And then the antigen is already delivered.
EEGs, sonograms to scanners. Medical technology allows doctors to monitor vital information about the inner workings of the human body. Imagine if some of these machines could be made so thin, light, and portable that they could be attached right to the surface of your skin and go wherever you go.
There's some very sophisticated device functionality sitting on my skin now.
2 NSF-funded innovators have done just that by engineering something called an electronic tattoo, a microelectronic health monitor that has the potential to revolutionize the field of healthcare technology.
The electronic has always been rigid. To make electronics flexible, that's quite a challenge.
The path taken by John Rogers and Hyun-Gong Huang to develop the electronic tattoo is an example of how collaboration is often a key or critical part of the innovation process. It all started in 2005 when both men worked at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and Huang happened to stop by a lecture Rogers was giving on campus.
Then we started talking, and we find John's work very fascinating, and John found my work on mechanics useful. So naturally the two of us evolve and work together.
At the time of their first encounter, Rogers, a material scientist and electrical engineer, was looking for new ways to use electronic circuits formed on the surface of silicon. Silicon is a natural semiconductor that has electrical properties between that of a conductor, a material in which an electrical charge can flow freely, and an insulator, a material that doesn't conduct an electrical charge at all. Semiconductors are the heart of most electronics today.
So at a very simple level, you can use a semiconductor like silicon as a switching element to turn electricity off or on.
Huang, a mechanical engineer who has since moved to Northwestern University, specializes in the mechanics of curvilinear materials, which have surfaces that are wavy.
Curvilinear surface means it's a surface that's not flat. That's not for example, my hat. The surface is curvilinear.
By combining their fields of expertise to hatch the initial idea of the tattoo, they set out to manufacture a prototype, something that has taken about 7 years and multiple breakthroughs to produce.
But one of the key things is to make electronics as flexible as possible that can follow the skin morphology.
The first breakthrough happened when they figured out how to slice off the surface layer of a silicon wafer. This new technique resulted in silicon that could bend, just like this single sheet of paper. Next, they discovered how to make silicon elastic, allowing it to be either flat or wavy in shape.
Suddenly you have a form of silicon that can bend, it can stretch, it can deform, it can coat and conform to curvilinear shapes, very much like biological tissues.
Even though it is called a tattoo, there is no need to pierce or puncture the skin. Instead, the device sticks on.
So what we can do then is we can take this device, laminate it on the skin, almost like a children's temporary transfer tattoo.
To figure out how to engineer this, Rogers and Huang looked to nature, noting how easily lizards stick to walls.
Like gecko and others, they can easily attach to a wall and easily let go. So for us, we want to borrow some of that idea and to make the electronic not using glue to have strong adhesion with the skin.
Once attached, it can wirelessly detect electrical signals from inside the body, such as those given off by cells within the heart that cause it to contract and pump blood through its 4 chambers.
This particular device is powered inductively. So there's a coil here. I can bring a wireless power supply in proximity to this device and deliver power to it through the air.
Rogers and Huang filed at least 10 different patent applications with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to protect their invention before commercializing it. Patents allow inventors to acquire what are known as intellectual property rights to their inventions for limited periods of time.
The intellectual property is absolutely crucial. If that's not done carefully and thoughtfully, and if you don't really have distinctively new ideas that are well separated from things that people have tried in the past, it won't be viable. You won't be able to commercialize it.
A startup company called MC10 has licensed the multiple patents and patent applications and is developing a new generation of flexible healthcare devices.
While doing mechanics work, I never thought that I would have so much interaction with electrical engineers or material scientists. But now it's really at the interface we create new devices that never existed before.
Innovation brought to life by a unique and long-lasting collaboration that has the potential to stretch the limits of modern healthcare technology.
Remember when videos like this took to load on your phone? Then mobiles and networks got faster and better. Well, they're about to get faster still. Lately, you might have heard a lot of talk about 5G, fifth generation mobile network technology that's supposed to offer blistering speeds of connectivity. Videos and websites will load like that. Here's the lowdown on what you can expect when 5G comes to your phone. First, how fast is it? As 5G evolves, estimates put download speeds between 100 and 1,000 times faster than 4G. You could download a HD film in less than a second. Second is something techies call low latency. That's a dramatic reduction in the time it takes from your phone pinging a network and getting a response. But why does this matter? A surgeon could use a VR headset to operate on someone elsewhere in the world, in a completely different location. But hang on, there are downsides. 5G's reach will be much shorter than its predecessors, which will mean it needs more cell towers. And what about the health risks? Well, the thing is, this technology is so new, nobody really knows what they are. Then there's a question of security. Does more data mean more risk? 5G will make things like data breaches and state-sponsored surveillance much more possible. As EU countries wrestle with the idea of using 5G, the big obvious question here is if the lightning speed connectivity is worth the risks.